Hey, listeners, where are all of my fellow Aquarians? Where are my Scorpios? But whether you're a Sagittarius or a Virgo or Gemini, all the zodiac signs are in for a special treat this week on Female Frequency Podcast. This week, I sit down with Aramis, a vivacious artist who transformed the chains that could have held her back, whether that's mentally, physically, or spiritually, into a radical journey of liberation. Her bold, boundary pushing murals and paintings challenge the status quo and inspire communities and collectors. In this week's episode, Aramis really opens up about the divine role of creativity, and we get into the gritty side of her studio business. We talk about her Zodiac series, which really integrates archetypes with strong, sensual goddess imagery on cosmic landscapes. We talk about the realities of negotiating as an artist. We talk about public art as a gift to the community and how her recent trip to France is reshaping how she archives. So tune in and listen how we talk about trusting our bodies, trusting our faith, and trusting source is the real magic. Hello, Aramis. How are you, sister? I am so happy that we get to spend time together today.
Oh, me too. Me too, Jody. This is exciting. Like, thank you for inviting me. Thank you for just like being here and definitely wanna connect. So yeah, I'm ready.
Oh, well, I'll tell you what, I absolutely love your adventurous spirit. And I got to tell you, I love how you do not deny your creative spirit to come out and to shine. You're a hardworking artist. I mean, you're painting, you have limited editions, you're such an entrepreneur. You got a YouTube channel, you got a Patreon. Like, we're going to get into all of that. But I hope you can tell us how you do it all.
I don't even know how I'm doing it all. I'm learning these days to maybe not do it all and to
Okay.
and to have a better balance with the things. But it's really been like a culmination of me like building things. And it's so beautiful. I have to remind myself that people are like constantly finding me and it's their like new experience with me. But it's like it's been years of building things up slowly but surely. And when I even think about YouTube and like sharing on video, I used to share private videos in my newsletter to my email subscribers in 2017. I would share like literally MP4 files with my email subscribers. And so that was sort of my training to actually like share it publicly with the world. And then in 2020, I was like, let me start sharing these videos actually online. So it was like kind of 3 years of just private videos that my little 70 email subscribers would see. And then yeah, then slowly I started to share more.
Man, I'm so in admiration of you that you can share your vulnerability. So, what looks to be so easy.
Mm. Thank you. I feel like I'm an artist of life. Like to me, like everything's art. Even when I'm cooking, I'm just like in there with music, a glass of wine, and it's
Yeah.
just like a vibe. Like my intention with everything is like, how can I make it a vibe? How can I make it fun? And how can I make it artistry? So I do think about that in all these different elements. And so when people do bring it up, like, oh, like how you have this like creative spirit and like all these different things, it does feel very natural. It feels like it feels foreign to cut off certain elements of myself because I feel like such a holistic artist through and through everything that I do. So it's just like, yeah, of anything, I feel it feels weird that maybe I shouldn't be this way. And I'm like, I just gotta be me. Like
Oh, yeah.
whatever.
You just
you
got to be
know?
you. And I actually go to Instagram sometimes to go see what fun you're having.
Oh, I've been a little ghost on the gram. I gotta get it together.
Well, there's been some policy changes and you're growing. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes you got to take a break from Graham. It's cool. But you have quite the fam.
Yeah, right. The Graham fam. I
Yeah,
love the Graham
I
fam.
do
Like,
too.
ah,
I do too.
that's really where it started. It started 2011, sharing on the gram organically, just like, hey, this is something that I painted today, and just slowly building up. And so I do feel like I am one of those true millennials who was using social as a just a natural fun thing, and then it slowly transitioned to something that we were all able to use as a platform to share what we're doing. And then people got into like the sort of monetize of it, but the core of sharing was always just from a place of just wanting to share and just like wanting to connect. So it feels very natural. And I think what shifted for me, where I haven't been on a gram as much, it feels like everybody's trying to make it something, or trying to monetize, or trying to show what they're, so it's just, it doesn't feel as connected to me. So YouTube's been the new home.
Okay. I'm
Mhm.
excited to go and explore that. And we'll leave your YouTube channel in the show notes for everybody. But when I went to Instagram and saw
Mhm.
that you had the title, the Zodiac Queens had been alchemized in metal, were your exact words. And I was so intrigued. And then my first words were congratulations. And then my second words were like, I got to get her on the podcast. I need to talk to her. Um, so I'd love to know more about how that project came to be and how it was alchemized, how you see that as being alchemized. But let's wind it back a minute. Was that your second public art project after your Black Lives Matter murals, or can
Mhm.
you traverse a little bit more about how that came?
Yeah. So I had done quite a few public art projects before that. In 2015, I did the public art boot camp, which was hosted by it was like this 8-week program. Was it 8 weeks? Maybe it was shorter. I actually can't remember the time frame, but it was put together by Office of Arts and Culture. Alicia Johnson and Marcia were the co-founders of that program. They actually don't do it anymore. That was like the first year they ever did it, which was in 2015. I think they did it for maybe 2 or 3 more years after that, and now they don't do it anymore. Hopefully they'll bring it back, because that was life changing for me. I didn't really know like even what the term like public art was, like
Right.
sure we would see, you see the art at the bus stops, you see sculptures at parks, but you're just like, oh, like we sort of never really know how that gets there, you know. But doing this program,
Absolutely. It's a
yeah,
challenge. It's
yeah.
hard.
Oh, it's layers to it. Okay. And they really broke it down in that program, and it was really informative. And so back in that 2015, they shared with us an opportunity to have a public art project at KEXP radio station. This was when they were building their new location at Seattle Center. So you probably remember KEXP radio station was on Aurora Avenue.
I
It was
do
like a
remember that. Yeah,
Yeah,
in
it was like
Seattle.
Aurora and
Or
Denny or something. Yeah.
yeah.
And so they moved in 20, like, it's construction, everything. So maybe they moved like 2015, and they wanted some art there. And so I had applied to do a mural. And so 2016 was like when I had like my big first mural in Seattle, at the KXP radio station. And she was like this purple goddess. Music, it was CD, it was like broken CDs, vinyls were in there, cassettes, and it was really like the story of music. And that was my first mural ever, and also my first mural in Seattle in 2016. And so after that, public art has been a huge pillar for me of just doing murals throughout the whole city. And I have a link on my website of all of my, not all of them, but maybe like my top 10 murals is kind of in the city. Um, but yeah, so the one in 2020, the Black Lives Matter mural, yeah, that was one of maybe 15, I don't know. And then the one with Cornish, yeah, we
Mhm.
can we can definitely dive into how that one came to be.
There's a lot to unpack there. I didn't realize you had been doing public art in the public realm for that long at
Mhm.
all. So then you were doing this public art, and then did you dive in harder into your studio practice?
Yeah, I'm always doing things like simultaneously,
Love it. I
so
love it. You're so
yeah,
dynamic.
well, it's like we kind of have to be these days, it's really interesting. I love Beyonce, and I feel like my supporters and followers know that I'm always sort of talking about Beyonce's journey, but um I'm like a deep fan of hers. And so when you sort of like go behind the scenes with artists and you watch their documentaries and listen to their interviews and stuff, you really start to see like how much artists are actually really doing,
Yeah.
And that's kind of what freed me to be able to do more. I started to think like, man, if I'm like doing too much, is that sort of confusing my audience? And I was like, not really, because actually the sort of like general public will only see a fraction of kind of what you actually doing, you know? And so even whenever I think about Beyonce, sure, like we seeing her like music now, but some of her like super fans are seeing that now she started the hair care line. She's now doing whiskey, you know, but like people are just seeing Cowboy Carter, just the album, you know.
Just that. Oh,
Um,
what about, did you love Find Your Park? That campaign she did with clothes. Wasn't that
ooh,
Beyonce?
with
Find Your
with
Park?
Find Your Park with Adidas,
I forget who
with
the
with
sports
Ivy
line was,
Park.
but I remember that hashtag.
Okay, I'm not familiar with Find Your Park. She did do the clothing line, her like activewear Ivy Park with Adidas.
Yes.
So I
Okay,
do
Ivy
have
Park. Yes. That's
some of
it.
her like activewear Ivy
That's
Park
it.
sports bras. So yeah, so that's what I have. But yeah, I love everything that she's done with like with Cowboy Carter and
Oh yeah,
just everything that
everything.
she's doing is amazing. But it does remind me, and it is inspiring to know that like we can be multifaceted as artists. You know, it's like we can do multiple things. And so with the Cornish project, I was painting. So when I started the Zodiac series in 2017.
Can I just share one thing?
Yes, please do.
On Beyonce, fun fact. Did you also hear this? That when she and Jay-Z went and did the video in the Louvre,
Mhm.
that it upped attendance at the Louvre 25%.
I believe it 1,000%. It was something like the lyric she said, with the like Red Lobster reference. I forgot the lyric, but
Me
the
too.
sales at Red Lobster like quadrupled. I believe it's like she moves the economy and it's so amazing. It's
She
so
moved the economy and she united so many people together.
yeah.
And it's the artwork that does the work. You know, she's got gabillions of dollars, and this is how she uses them.
Thank you, Jody. Like this reminds me that like the art does unify the people, you
It's the
know?
artwork, and
It
your
truly is.
artwork does the same thing.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Well, and really that's because of like partners. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
because of one, people like you, okay, like helping to one like share our stories, but also so coming back to the Zodiac series.
Yeah,
So I
please.
started painting that in 2017. I painted all 12 of the Zodiac signs. I finished them in 2021, so it was years to actually finish all these pieces because they were so huge. Taurus
Okay.
is actually behind me.
Yeah, actually, let's draw that out for some of the listeners. What size, what's the scale of these zodiac paintings?
Yeah, so Gemini is one of the biggest ones. I'm a Gemini.
I see. I
Look,
see.
look, two sides. So with the Gemini piece, she's 10 feet by 5 feet. So that was huge. Let's see, Taurus behind me. Maybe she's like 5 feet. So she's like 5 by 5. And so all of them fall within that range between 10 feet to 5 feet. All of them was pretty big. And so we finished them 2021. I had my solo exhibit of all those pieces in 2022 at the building Ninth and Thomas. Yeah, that was incredible. That was amazing. But back in 2019, and this
Yeah.
is coming back to how important like partners, collaborators, community is. So I won the Nettie Award back in 2019, and that's a $25,000 award presented by Cornish College of the Arts. And so I got that in 2019. That's when my relationship formed with Cornish. From that, we just like stayed connected. I was doing classes for their seniors. I did art portfolio reviews for some of their students as well. And so they were working on construction for the new gallery that's on, where is it now? Denny and Lenora, which
Yeah.
is where those pieces became turned into metal. And that was because of An, which is one of the, was she the curator at that point? I forgot An's position, but she isn't there anymore. But she pretty much reached out. She was like, hey, Aramis, we have this gallery that's coming. Um, it's under construction now. We would love some public art there. let's talk, let's figure out ideas, let's brainstorm. So we had the Zoom calls, right? We
Okay.
talking, we sort of
Yeah.
brainstorming. I was like, hey, I actually just finished up these pieces. No, actually, An came to my solo exhibit. I have a photo of her
Okay.
actually looking at one of
Yeah.
my the like paperwork things I gave her. So she came. I love An so much. Like as I just think about her, I'm like, man, she kept me in mind for so many different things, and just like when you have somebody in those positions who's like genuinely rooting for you, it means a lot.
Yeah.
Anne was definitely one of those people, and incredible French woman. Okay, she had, so it's like we got to come back to Paris, okay, because I actually talked to her about going to Paris together. But yeah, so Anne came to the solo show back in June. She loved the Zodiac pieces. So I think she did already come to me saying like, how can we incorporate the Zodiac queens? Because those were some pieces that she was really excited about from seeing them at the show.
Okay. And
Um,
when she
mhm.
viewed those were already on canvas.
Yep. Yep. So
Okay.
those were stretched here on loose canvas. Actually, I framed them. Look, shout out to my husband Andy. He built the frames for me.
Yeah, he
Um,
does. Yeah, he
look,
does.
okay. Look, from Home Depot is where we got all those just crown molded, and he just like made it work, and the pieces came together and looked incredible
They
because of
did.
him, because of
Yeah.
him to make them. But yeah, so Bellevue Fine Art Reproductions is the company that I use and took those paintings to his location. Scott is the owner there. He scanned those. So he scanned those with a digital scanner. He's like the GOAT, okay?
Yeah.
Greatest of all time when it comes down to transforming images. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
incredible. That's
Yep.
incredible. Taking a 10-foot painting and then being able to scan it, and then they were printed on metal.
Yep, yep. And so from that, from him scanning it, so now I have this like digital file, a TIFF file, super, super large. So from that, it can be like blown up into anything and pretty much printed on any surface. I have another mural that's actually going up on Fifth and Bell in Belltown this week. Similar
Word.
thing. Yeah, I hand painted this piece like on a smaller canvas, maybe about this big or so. Took it to Bellevue. He scanned it, and it's going to be printed on this like billboard essentially. But so similar thing. Once I had that digital image, Cornish had a company that they worked with who was able to print images onto this like metal material that was able to withstand the weather, the
That's what I was
elements,
wondering. Like,
the whole
how
nine.
did you have to do any additional things, or they were the one-stop shop just to make it happen?
Yeah, shout out to fabricators, and
Yeah.
that's a huge thing when it comes down to public art. And that's so much that I had learned in this workshop too, because you start to see some of this works and you're like, I can't sculpt, or like, how can I get this? How do they transform it into this,
Yeah.
And so that's when like collaborators and fabricators come into hand because they have all the tools. They have all the materials where they able to turn it into something that's able to withstand the weather. And so as the artist, we just provide the art. And then you start to send it off to the folks who are professionals in that way of how to make it withstand the elements.
What a huge step in leadership for your studio to, just realize that someone else can do that for you. Because I think a lot of artists just keep feeling they have to do it all themselves. And
Yeah.
especially in the public art world, it is about that collaboration and trusting someone else's skill and knowledge to perform it for you.
Mhm. It's crazy.
It
It's crazy. Like
is.
the deeper I go into this, the more I learn every day.
So, did Cornish buy these from you? And did you have to set forth a budget and everything? Oh,
Yep.
awesome.
Yep.
So,
So
did you
they
make money?
Well, not exactly. Now, we can definitely share about that. What was incredible about that is that they created those images for me and they have them on loan for 3 years.
Okay.
Once those pieces are down, now I take ownership of them. So
Okay.
certain projects, whenever I'm not making money from it per se, I sort of view it as like a billboard for myself for marketing. So, which is what I had talked to their team about. I was like, I like to leverage certain things. And so for me, if it's not actually a full quantity of funds exchange,
Yeah.
there's other ways that I'm able to leverage it. And so for me, that became my billboard everywhere, where now people bought prints of them. I've sold hundreds of candles, hundreds of pens. Like it was my city billboard for like 2 years, which also led to two bigger projects that were very large thanks to those projects. So it's definitely like I do believe in artists getting paid 1,000%. Cornish has paid me many times for many of projects, of one being a $25,000
Yeah.
grant,
Yeah.
and constantly being paid to speak to their students. And so I formed different relationships with different organizations. And yeah, that was one that I felt like it was more of a sort of collaborative strategy, that really was in my favor when it all panned out, to be honest.
Yeah. Way to go. Way to go. I mean, the leveraging thing is key if you can work with that intention from the very beginning. It just sounds
Yeah.
like you're a great negotiator.
You know, I've learned that sometimes it honestly depends on the person. It depends on the organization.
Yeah.
It depends on how they're trying to leverage me. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because there's sort of different things, which I've learned after the Black Lives Matter mural. People, everybody leverages. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
That's a totally natural thing, but it also feels with what's the energy of it though? You know, it's like, am I gonna be the black token artist? Am I gonna be the, you know? So it's starting to realize like, how can I get benefit from this for my artistry as
Mhm.
well as my community, but also how can I understand the sort of benefits of it from my partner as well, while just like sort of just being honest, you know, like my whole thing, kind of how we was talking about before, over communicating. Don't try to play me. I won't try to play you. Let's all put it out on the table. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Let's all see how this is going to check boxes for us all, because like really we don't do anything that doesn't benefit us.
Yeah.
That's just the straight facts about it, you know.
And the artwork is the engine behind everything. I mean,
Hmm.
capitalists will say money makes the world go round, but I mean, I have a different perspective. It's the creativity and it's the artwork that makes the world go round because it's uniting the communities. It's the ones serving the purpose.
1,000%. And to me, it's like community makes the world go round. Like it's all
Oh
like
yeah.
we're all connected, you know what I mean? And so many things that I have right now is because of the people that I know, and because of the community that I have, and people who have like advocated for me in spaces where my name has been mentioned somewhere and I had no idea until later somebody came and I'm like, "Oh wow, she said that," you know what I mean? And so it's definitely all about relationships for me. And
Yeah.
so even if I'm not able to make a dollar amount from something, I'm still able later to build a sort of connection with somebody where an opportunity might come later that's like a six-figure deal
Yeah.
that I couldn't have even imagined, and probably would have even lowballed myself if
Yeah.
I did try to present a dollar
Right.
amount for us for some other opportunity. You know
Yeah.
what I mean?
Yes. Yeah. You go where the energy is.
Yeah.
And I mean, all that with the administration part of being an artist and a woman entrepreneur.
Mhm.
So I mean, that's all the heavy stuff, but, and your creativity is so playful.
Mm. Thank you. I have to play. I feel like when, especially as somebody who is can get into the business, sort of the
Yeah.
serial entrepreneur side, whenever I do get too tight in that space, it
Yeah.
definitely limits my creativity. So I've learned over years that it's like, pull back. You have to play. We got to get in the sandbox. We have to get messy. We have to start splashing colors around. Like, slow down. You know, it got way too serious. How do we keep the fun and keep the play? And I think that keeps the energy flowing when it's
Yeah.
this like stream of like spontaneity. It's like, okay, what's going to happen today? You know, because the thing is, like with some of this contractual stuff, you know, like with museums, they're planning stuff years in advance.
Yeah.
And there can be so much rigidity around it where you
Yep.
feel like, okay, well, this is like it's a full like domino and everything is stacked so tight. And if one thing falls, it can completely cause a full catastrophe, you know, and
Yeah.
it just builds this stress. So I've just learned like, no, let's keep it open, keep it spacious, keep it fun, keep it playful. And so, yeah, I do try to keep a divide between my creative, whimsical space and my sort of businesswoman contractual hat.
Wow. And do you do that because you spend like a month painting and then go back to the contracts? Because I mean, agreements don't necessarily like come like that.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's something that I'm still balancing like every day. And so when it comes down to my system, my
Yeah.
studio, and this is why I love studio so much, and I advocate for space so much because I feel like space holds energy.
Yeah.
So whether you're at home, you have a different energy at home. When you're in this office, you have a different energy there, you know? And so in my studio, that's my playful zone. So currently here, I'm at home. I have my desk. I have two monitors set up. I have my microphone over here, my lamps over. Like it's a sort of tech setup. Okay,
Yeah.
this is more. I have my chargers for my cameras and my SD cards for YouTube. You know, it's sort of my like battle station here, computer zone. At my studio, it's colors, it's art, there's canvases there, there's like paint there. And so I do try to allocate different energy to different spaces. And so today for us being on this call, I'm like, okay, cool. This is like businesswoman. This is podcast. This is us talking. This is energy. Well, playful as well too, because
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
I could talk all day. Clearly, yeah, this is also fun, you know. So that's what's helped me is having different designated spaces,
Yeah.
which I had, you know, all this I had to learn. This was a learning process.
Yeah. And it is a learning process even as you get older because some of old ways kind of fade away and then you need to build a new space for where you are now. So
Mhm.
let's get into your creativity studio space, like where the energy flows and the paint
Mhm.
flies, because you have all sorts of ways that you paint because I've seen you paint with brushes, but then you've got micro spots of color everywhere. So I'm like, how'd you sprinkle all those around? Because
Yeah.
all of those really help add so much depth to your paintings. I mean,
Thank
you
you.
can really see the odyssey and the world in which you have created.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh, look, I was like, I was just like listening. No, that's great. Um, so for me, and I feel like so many artists say this, but it's so true though. Like, you know, when things just like become cliche, but it's like cliches are like born from some element of truth, you know.
Totally.
But I genuinely do feel like I'm a vessel, you know. And so like when it comes down to how some of the colors can land, I sometimes can't even take credit for some of that because I literally just I just started squeezing the bottle. You know, there's some
Yeah.
videos you'll see me painting. I'm like squeezing the bottle of paint. And it's like gravity is deciding wherever it wants to land. And so it's like this treat for me too, where I just feel like a kid where I don't know what's it gonna be like, what it's gonna look like. You just excited.
Do you have like a ritual before you start painting? I mean, do you get some fire involved? Like, do you have a spiritual, like, here we go, I'm
You know,
calling in my
not
guides? This is
formally, like not I think just like the process of me like walking, you know what? I guess there is.
there
Um
is. Look at you.
no,
I
I
see
was
that
just
in
I
your
was I
eye,
was like,
girl.
oh, that is a bit of a I was like, that is a bit of a
Yes.
ritual, you know. And so I was just thinking about it because I was just at the studio yesterday and I have the I have this like this one piece set, this like onesie
Yeah.
that I have that shout out to my incredible mom in love, mom-in-law. She knows that like I love one piece sets. And so like almost every Christmas she'll buy me this like one piece set. But I have this overall set that she got me some years ago. And so whenever I go into my studio, like part of my process is like grabbing my bucket of water with the paintbrushes in them and I'm like cleaning those and then putting on this one piece set. And so whenever I sort of don this
Yeah.
outfit, I do sort of get into that headspace of like, okay, it almost feels like my protective layer to allow myself to get as messy as I want. Because part of like me even getting a studio, so I got my first studio in 2016, maybe it was 2016, 2017. And it was part of because I was painting in my living room. And so the same way that I make a mess now in my studio, I made a full-blown mess in my living room. We didn't get our security deposit back. Paint just splat, like it was just a mess. Okay. But So there was this sort of like restriction that I felt like every
Yep.
time I would sort of like get paint on the rug or get paint on the wall. I sort of had the tarp laid down, but when you throw it, it's kind of laying in different places. And so I was like, ugh, I would feel this tightness knowing that I'm sort of like destroying the place or like getting paint in a messy space. And so now when I go to my studio and like I put on this one piece set, I feel like you're safe. Like your
Yeah.
clothes are safe, the space is safe. Let loose, have fun, go for it. And so, yeah, I mean, like now you asking that question is kind of making me even think and articulate in that way. But I guess maybe that is my process to sort of don the outfit,
Oh, absolutely.
putting
Yeah.
on the suit.
Yeah. I think it adds to that intention because you're going to be the vessel. So I feel like, yeah, get in the gear.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, totally. Well, and it also feels there is something where I'm kind of actively dealing with this now when it comes down to different public art projects because um we're sort of tailing off from the summer, but it was mural season, and that's when I'm doing like a lot of public art. We're touching up the Black Lives Matter mural. There's a lot of other murals that's going up because of the seasons. And whenever you do have public art, there is a process where I have to separate myself from that work a little bit because you are gifting that to the community. You are
Mhm.
giving that to the public. And there is the not the risk of it's going to get damaged, like the reality that it will
Right.
get damaged in some
Right.
way. And so um I feel like I love my studio so much because I'm just able to create freely and I'm able to take my time on my own spiritual work where I'm able to unpack like different things, which I
Mhm.
do keep a little bit separate from my public artwork. So yeah, I think
Mm.
I think there is a bit of a ritual with my studio, and it's almost like a completely different body of work
Yeah.
than that's my public art.
Okay.
Hmm.
I mean, I'm glad you said that. I don't know if that's necessarily how I see your work. So I'm going to go back and go look at that
Hmm.
and see if I can see some constraint or something. But
Yeah.
I mean, I just feel like every time you put a painting out there, it's it's showing us how you're growing. I mean,
Mm. Thank you.
you're
No, that's great. Like, look, that's
you're
great. No, I don't want to feel. I don't want it to feel. I don't want it to look um, like I'm sort of cutting off like part of myself. It's of anything. I'm still letting it flow creatively, like in
yeah,
the process of creating it, because that's just I can't help that. I'm gonna always just be the channel and like keep it open. But when it comes down to now, when the work leaves the studio or
okay.
leaves my hand,
Yeah.
now I have to like emotionally and mentally, it's sort of more of an internal process, not something where it's like, I mean, hopefully somebody can't overtly see like, oh, she sort of gave us the commercial
No,
sterile public art.
it's the curator in me that is like, looking at your different series and looking at your different process. And I just,
Yeah.
it's also continuous and it's so vulnerable, really. And a
Well, thank
reflected,
you.
you're such a mirror.
Hmm. Thank you. Thank you for that. And really this comes back to I feel like the partners that I've been able to work with really resonate with my studio work and like really resonate with like what I'm trying to say. And so some of my stuff has been like even when I think about the Zodiac pieces that was
Yeah.
up at Cornish, those like so that was more of like a scan of my studio work. You know what I mean? It was like, this is a body of work that's already done and already completed that I just created because that's what I felt called to create. And so somebody who was in that curator position saw it in its done full form and was like, I love this. Like, how
Yeah.
can we bring this to the public?
Yeah. And do you see yourself like
Mhm.
let's talk about all the symbols and metaphors and everything about the Zodiac series. So, um do you see yourself in each one of these zodiacs, or were you channeling someone that you're inspired by for each of these? Or tell us
Mhm.
more about give us more of this magic secret sauce behind these.
Sure. I love everything. Look, Andy says it's like, maybe you just love everything. I kind of do, but no, this specifically excites me because I loved that series, and I feel like I grew so much from that body of work. Like each one is so different, and I do feel like a little bit of myself is in each one.
Okay.
But I was channeling different. I feel like I was channeling that archetype, and of
Yes.
course, like even though that I identify with my sun sign being a Gemini, I sort of, it's like, but we all are ruled under the same stars, and so like depending on the different seasons, we're all impacted by Taurus, by Leo, so it's like we don't have to isolate ourselves to only these one archetypes, and so even I'm looking at Sagittarius, which is up on my wall here to my left. She has locks. And so I remember working on the series and sort of seeing them all come together and sort of coming down to Sagittarius because I created them chronologically in their order, starting with Aries and ending with Pisces. So Sagittarius is a little bit further down the line. And so I remember working on that piece and thinking about how I wanted her hair to be.
Yeah.
And so I had already completed like maybe like 7 or like 8 of the zodiac signs by the time it got to Sagittarius. And I was like, none of them have locks. And I was like, wait a minute, wait a minute, like at least one of them have to have locks. And so I put Sagittarius, she has these teal locks. And even though I'm not a Sagittarius, but I still sort of put that little bit of that element of me in that piece. So that's an example of like how each one of them has something in
Mhm.
there
I
of
like
me.
the zodiac signs. I think that they're fun to
Thank you.
be able just to see yourself a little bit more. It just kind of it helps sometimes with blind spots. Like,
Totally. And you know what? I had no idea. And of course, like we all like our signs. We all like, oh, I'm a this. I had no idea how much fun it would be for me and for just the full collective. Like people just had so much fun with it. And I feel like even though it sort of looked like this purple lady, whatever, like all people who were a Taurus was like, that's me, and it was just like, okay, like that's like so many people identify with the sign.
yep.
And I like even with the solo show, it just opened up such a huge conversation. Like people were talking, it was like, I'm this, like I'm a Sagittarius, I'm a Leo, like, oh, Gemini's, y'all crazy, it started this whole banter that was so fun. And I was like, oh my God, I had no idea how much joy it would bring to me and my community.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just been a joy to continue on a journey.
It's the artwork doing the work again.
Thousand
Yeah.
percent. Thousand
Yeah.
percent.
Uh, was there, is there like I got two questions.
Mhm.
Was there a work of art that inspired you to be an artist or like that continues to inspire you? Um, or is there a trip that has really inspired you, like traveling?
Mhm. Yeah, there's so much. Like, I mean, literally everything inspires me for sure. But when I think about the art, I'll actually speak on another artist's work who really inspires me. Hebrew Brantley. He's this incredible um artist from Chicago, actually, which is where I'm from, born and raised in Chicago, but I've been out in Seattle since 2013. So yeah, it's about like 11 years now that I've been in Seattle. But I love Hebrew's work because he started in a similar space of like public art, well, like sort of like street art, where he's doing more murals. And so I remember seeing one of his murals in Seattle, actually. Like I really back in Chicago, I was a full-blown registered nurse. So I feel like I sort of didn't even have my sort of art eyes. Like I feel like now when I'm walking through the city, I see so much art. I'm sort of curious who the artist is. I'm looking for their name. I'm sort of like really in tune with that. In Chicago, that wasn't the experience at all. So it's funny that I saw Hebrew's work in Seattle and then later to find out that he was from Chicago and he has all this work in Chicago. And I'm like, damn, I just left Chicago.
Right.
But but seeing his murals, so like his work is very it's very colorful. I identify it as like whimsical and fun. So much black pride in it. He has this sort of comic style where he's doing these illustrations of kind of like kids flying. They have the Tuskegee Airmen goggles on. I'm like so spacing on the damn words for it, but it's okay. His work is incredible. And I just love how he's been able to transition from his street art, graffiti work, and then he started transitioning into oil painting, started to do
Mm.
more portraits while still keeping in his style of this cartoon illustration, whimsical, colorful nature, and then transitioned to these like huge sculptures and started to working with fabricators and taking it to the next level. So I feel like he was a huge inspiration for me where I was like, oh, like you can start from creating this street art and really moving into the fine art space.
Hmm. Hmm.
Now granted, he's been doing this for over like 2 decades and probably maybe like 25 years at this point. 25 years? Yeah, yeah. He's like the GOAT. He's definitely the GOAT. And so he's been a huge inspiration for my sort of art career and also me leaning into my style of color and whimsical and just like Black girl magic in a sort of fine art space that can make you feel like, oh, it has to be this abstract or like muted colors or whatever. I'm like, yeah, I'm about to do me, you know?
Yeah, you're about to do your divine residence.
Yep.
Yes, absolutely.
Mhm.
Well, what about travel? Because you're so curious, and I just feel like you have an adventurous spirit. So, are there some travels that have inspired you?
Well, yeah, I just got back from Paris, which
I
was,
love Paris.
yeah, I know, right? Isn't it amazing? Isn't it amazing? So this was
Yes,
my first time going to France, first time being in Paris, and it was really life altering. Like,
me
after my
too.
husband, like
Me
what?
too.
Yes,
Yes, that was
I
part
feel
of my
that.
Venus tour, and I'll tell you about that after your story. But yeah, I was on Venus tour, and it changed my life. I fell in love.
Wow,
I fell in
yes.
love. I fell in love with myself.
Okay. And that's the most beautiful love. Oh, self-love is the best love. For
Yeah.
real. No, you definitely gonna have to tell me more about that. I really want to hear it. Um, Paris was incredible. Like I'm still soaking it in. Like I literally just got back like 2 weeks ago. So I'm still like looking through photos, talking to my friends. I had went with two of my great friends who are also like artists and creatives. And we just went on. I remember my friend, she called me. She was like, "This is not a drill. We're going to Paris. The flight, like she had like Google flight alerts on. She was like, it's like a nonstop one-way flight. Like the price is so low. Come
Yeah.
on, let's go." I was like, yes, yes.
Yes. Good for
You know?
you.
And so I think that's maybe even more what was so amazing about it because like I had no expectations. Like I came in so open, so free, and it was just it like blew, there's something so beautiful about like not having crazy expectations about something or not having like a sort of like agenda. Now, granted, we did have our agenda. We had like different, sites we wanted to see, but yeah, it was a really beautiful, free, flowy event, and it really it of any I think the sort of like I could talk all day about it, right? But like let me hone in on like what I really want to focus on with it, which is the importance of like archiving your story. I feel like every museum that I went to, they kept the tiniest little scrap of and was like, this was Frida's, like this is a receipt of the. And I'm like, should I be keeping post-it? Like what? Like, you
We're going to talk about this because I help artists understand the importance of archiving certain things
I
and just
archive
archiving
so
in general
much.
and taking time, at least quarterly, to archive.
Absolutely. I am such the archive. Like even over here, I have a stack of things that I put them in these seals.
Oh,
So this is and,
yes.
and public display art. First of all, shout out to them. Like they aren't in existence anymore. They literally are now done doing these free publications where they were featured artists. And I saved all the ones that I was featured in and my friends were featured in. And I also had my friends sign it. I was like, sign it. Like I'm like, you're amazing. So they're like, girl, I'm like, you're gonna be famous one day. And like, I'm gonna have your signature. They like it, and they love it too, because they're like, you believe in me. I'm like, yeah, I believe in you. Like, hell yeah. It's like we
Yes.
we have to we have to support each other. So I have like a full sort of area, like I have this bookshelf that's right next to me, but I have this like stack of Seattle like newspaper. I have one with Barbara Earl Thomas. I love her. She was
Oh,
featured in
yes.
Seattle Times. I have hers in the sealed envelope. Like I'm the archival lady. And I thought, I didn't think it was weird because I am somebody who's like an art historian, But going to Paris even more, I was like, okay, I'm doing the right thing. I was like, okay, like yes,
I
keep
love it.
archiving.
I love this.
Yeah,
Good for
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
What a unique thing to come back from Paris. Yeah, I was, when I asked, I didn't have expectations, but one might say so you saw something at the Louvre or something.
Well, that like
Did you even go?
I went to the Louvre. I recorded a lot. I'm going through footage now, but I have hours of footage from the Louvre. And I'm like, why did you do this to yourself? Like when
Yeah.
like now you gotta like go through all the footage, but it was incredible. It blew my mind. Their Egyptian antiques collection. I'm
Oh,
like, this is crazy. It was crazy. Yeah, yeah, Jody, like we will be here all day if I crack open the Louvre. Okay.
okay. All
We
right.
got
All right.
lost in there. It was amazing. Did you go?
No, I tried
Okay.
multiple occasions,
Okay.
but I feel like now where I am when I went to Paris and
Mhm.
where I am today is that I have to go with a very specific purpose to go see very specific works of art that I want to see and experience in person and
Yep.
then bail because I'm quite sensitive and I'll
Hmm.
get overwhelmed and then I won't feel good the rest of the day if
Hmm.
I would have just been enamored with that many people. That's a
Yeah.
mass humanity that goes through there.
It was crazy. Like if you're and like I'm the same way where I we went to the Louvre and the Eiffel Tower all in the same day. Like
Okay.
that
Yeah.
that night I was just like, but then there's also something too about that can be like amazing. Like as somebody who's also like just a very empathic and like in
Yeah.
tune person, I start to don this shield around myself where it's like I have this like aura of this energetic shield, which
Yes.
now like allows me to like move freely in spaces. But also I started to just like enamor at the buzz of it all. I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh, I'm like, this is life. Like whatever.
Yes.
Like I was just like buzzing the whole time,
Totally.
like literally damn near
Yes.
shaking in
Yes.
there. But I didn't see the Mona Lisa. It's always a line like I hear crazy stories about trying to see the Mona Lisa. It's all of this, like it's this big. It's like I was there with friends. They wanted to see separate things. I'm like, I'll come back another time. Like I can't see everything in this trip. So I didn't get to lay eyes on the Mona Lisa,
Yeah.
but I did get to see the Egyptian antiques collection and every level really. But it was incredible. It's a lot. So I think good on you. I think it's good to know yourself, have the boundaries because it was a lot. It was huge. We just came back 2 weeks ago. And so that was Olympics.
Yeah.
It was a tail end of the Olympics. Paris was packed. There was a lot of
Yeah.
tourists. It was
Yes.
crazy. It was
Well, I'm just going to throw it out there for the future. If you ever get an alert on Egypt and you want to go, call me. I think that would be awesome to go with you.
Yes, that is on my list. Yes, definitely talk to Andy about going to Egypt because after seeing the antiques collection, which is always bittersweet, right? It's like, okay,
Yeah.
man, like a lot of this shit is stolen. It's just
Who
like,
owns this? Yeah.
yeah, it's always a complex relationship. So of anything, it inspired me like, let me go to the source. Let me go
Yep.
to the source. Would definitely love to go to Egypt. And yeah, that's be amazing.
Speaking of source, the source is why I went to France. It's why I went. My inner source told me
Mhm.
like you've got to go.
There's an
So
incredible energy.
it was I hadn't I was on my Venus tour, which
Mhm.
means I went to the Venus of Willendorf in Vienna. I'm pointing to my like
Okay.
I'm like burp, burp, burp. The Venus of Willendorf, which is in Vienna. It's in Austria. So I
Wow.
sold my house. I sold a lot of things in my art collection. I put some things in storage and I bought a one-way ticket to Europe.
Oh my God.
And I went to go see Venus of Willendorf and had plans to then go to Italy where I thought her and where it's the scientists have discovered that most likely is the origin of where the stone that she was carved in.
Mhm.
So I
Mhm.
went to that area. But when I went there, I heard you've got to go see the others. So, I mean, she's so much more than stone. She's so much more than a fertility symbol. I mean,
Yeah,
she is a divine icon. She is
absolutely.
showing contributions of women through time. And so I listened. So I went down to Italy and was synchronicity followed by goddesses around there too,
Don't you love
which is
that?
so amazing. And was like, okay, I've got to. Venus told me to go see the others. I will go see the
Mhm.
others, and there are more in Paris. So I
Wow.
went to like their natural history museums and their field museums to go see the others, and I
I
just
would love
felt
to see
like,
them. Yeah, I didn't see any in Paris.
no,
Like, tell
they're
me
in the
more.
outskirts of them. They're in like the Human Museum, the Museum of Humans,
Wow.
which is across from the Eiffel Tower and up on the, I don't know. It was, I
Okay.
mean, I just was like on a one-way ticket looking for the other
I
one. So I
love
had
it.
done research, I'm like, I've got to write something. I'm going to do something here. Um, and so I went there and then just felt called to go see the rest of the country. So I rented a car and drove around the rest of the country and went to the Mary Magdalene caves and went
Mm.
all around to go see more of that, like Isis spirit, that inner
Yes.
light, that divine light.
Well, I learned so much about just like comedic connection to France and Paris and their
Yeah.
reference of ISIS. And I was like, I didn't even know y'all were on that. Like, okay, wow. And so, yeah, there's like the ISIS energy is throughout every single culture. And it's like the more that I dive deep, the more like as I have my Metu Netter book like right here, like just like
Yes.
the more that I dive into like Egyptian spirituality, like metaphysics, occultism, all my different things, which is sort of my new body of work that I'm working on, is like the more that I see like, oh wow, there's so much that's interconnected, but also there's so much that was lost, you know? There's so much that was lost, which can be heartbreaking, but this feels like the time that like we're reclaiming the history, reclaiming the stories, and
Yes.
like reclaiming our connection back to source and back to
Yes.
that mother goddess energy. So yeah, how like did you
Let's
feel
do it.
that like on the Venus tour? Like,
I knew that I was just ready to follow the intuition in a very
mhm.
different way because I had given myself on that 5-year plan. I was very business. Okay, I'm gonna go see I had had a hysterectomy, and
Oh,
I gave myself after that hysterectomy, I'm gonna see Venus of Willendorf in the next 5 years. And so I
mm,
just worked towards that goal. And then as I was getting ready to go see her, I just was like, I need to follow my intuition in a very different way.
yeah.
And that's what Venus Tour was all about. Just
Mm,
following that inner light, that
yeah.
guidance in a very free flowing, not asking questions, just go with it, scary way.
Yes. It's scary, but it's powerful. And it's such a
Yes.
I literally just uploaded a video 2 days ago saying I'm quitting my 5-year plan. That was the title of the video, was just like, because it's, I mean, you know, right? Like it sounds like you were on a similar journey of just like we can almost plan so much and think that like, okay, and push off so many of these like important things. But I'm just realizing I'm on a journey with you at the same, like life is about living it and like doing it now,
Yep.
and really experiencing it. But also I think and like coming back to France, I think that's what, if anything, is solidified so much for me, because that trip was just so open and fluid and there wasn't so much rigidity around it. There was so many magical, like synchronistic moments
Yes.
that I
Yes.
couldn't have it was like I couldn't have planned this. I
Right.
couldn't have planned for this to be like this. And so, yeah, yeah. And then even if I did try to plan something, I would have this expectation around it. Like, okay, well, now it has to be perfect. And I have to get there at this time, and we all have to have brunch at this time. And if the waiter is too late, oh wait, we have the tour at noon, and we have to be there at noon. Like let it go,
Let it go.
let it be, and just have fun. And yeah, so this is I'm with you 1,000%, Jody. We're
Let's do
channeling
it.
in the fun, the free, the letting go of the 5-year plan, and being guided by our inner Venus. Mm.
If I had a rattle, I'm just gonna say aho. Thank you.
Okay, yes.
I mean, let's do it. I am ready
Yes.
to walk the path with you, and yeah, keep that torch lit for all those others that did it before us. So, I mean, here we are. We're following our divine light. What are those signposts while your body signposts, like while you're painting, when you know just to let it, you're done, you're done. Like
in the painting process, it's so weird because like have been asked this question before, and it's just like I never really know. It's kind of just like this feeling,
it's just the feeling. Yeah,
it's literally just a feeling where you just feel like, okay. It's a feeling. And sometimes I heard something quote, it's like when you just like abandon it or something, because there are moments where you just have to be like, I can't, like when you start to try to like let me fix this, or like, oh, her finger, her hand is kind of like, oh, let me fix it. And then you start fixing and fixing and fixing. And then now it starts to look overworked. There's something about a piece where it can kind of feel overworked, And so it's just this feeling that I've started to learn over time, like, okay, just like let it be, and then sometimes I'll start to like create a narrative, like I'll start thinking about the sort of like artist talk that I'm going to have at the opening reception, and like why I'm like, okay, let me just leave this. And I can say, I sort of left it like this because for it to mean that, I sort of like even convince myself sometimes to like step back, and then in that stepping back, I'm like, cool, this'll mean this, or this will have this intention or meaning behind it, But a lot of the times it's genuinely like a feeling where I'm like, okay, cool, like
okay.
you've done it,
That's it.
you've done
Yeah,
enough.
feelings are evidence.
Absolutely, absolutely. Feelings is 100% evidence, and it's something that should be honored. It's just
Yes.
like, oh, I feel it. That's
Yes.
enough. Like I
Yeah.
feel it.
Yes.
Yeah, no, a
Yes.
1,000%. But it was the other thing. What was something else came up when you were asking that, because you asked about the body signpost. When it comes down to other things in life, my dreams are really vivid. I feel like
Oh,
I get a lot of downloads in my dreams, and I feel like source speaks to me in dream time, and it like lets me know, yes, good, or we need to pivot here, or like, are you suppressing something? Like my dreams are like cryptic as fuck.
right.
They be on their own, and they're like, okay, we're just gonna give you like this hodgepodge. Okay, you need to journal and unpack this. And usually whenever I unpack it, I'd be like, oh, this is what I need to do. Like this is my sign that I need to slow down, speed up, go left, go right,
Wow. And good for you for doing the work.
It's
I
work.
mean, it is work.
That's real. That's real. It's real work. And I don't know. I was thinking about this the other day, that I'm grateful for my body. I'm grateful for all the signs and messages, but it's almost like my body is so loud. Like it doesn't let, how some people like, oh, it's for years I was feeling this way. It's like, yeah, no. Like I will have a dream that like all of my teeth and hair is falling out. Like it will be like the universe will send thunderbolt and lightning down. I'd be like, well, damn, okay. It's like, oh no, it be clear signs for me.
Right.
It be clear signs. It's like you can't miss it. If you're missing this, you're intentionally being negligent. And so I feel like I'm just so my body's sensitive. It's sensitive to food, sensitive to sound. It's just sensitive. Okay. So it's just letting me know, like, and so of me, I've gone on the journey of appreciating that and like being grateful for that, because it's my body's messages.
You are
And
so evolved.
yeah,
What?
it took me time though, Jody. It did. It took, because like my body is like she's like, fuck around and find out. I'd be like, okay,
I
okay.
know. Yeah.
With crayons was just different, that she's like, slow down. I'm like, okay, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am, yes, ma'am. Okay, because she will show me.
Yeah.
she will like, yep, you won't be able to sleep, you won't be able to eat. I'm like, okay,
Female
gotcha. Yes,
frequency
ma'am.
is your female frequency is loud. I can.
She's loud. Okay. I feel like everything about me is loud. That's hilarious.
You're so wonderful. Thanks so much for hanging out with us today and sharing
Thank
your
you,
story and your love
Jody.
and your divine light. And
Thank you. This has been a joy. It really has. And every time I'm able to share, I always get something out of as well, and like more insights for me as well. So thank you so much.